without making up my mind that like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to like become a member of AA. I'm going to get sober. I'm going to work the steps. I'm going to get a sponsor. Like none of that ever like happened in my brain where I made those decisions. It just slowly started to happen. I just like one at a time, I just sort of did it. My life just started to get better. Things started to get easier. My anxiety like started to get easier to deal with. I all of a sudden like had these tools that I had never had before. I had these people that I could call. Something new for me, somebody's already been through. Just like learning this whole new like world has relieved so much just like stress and anxiety of everything that I was trying to control before.
Stories are powerful.
Welcome to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast, brought to you by The Phoenix. This is a space where people impacted by substance use can come to share their story of strength and resilience, get open and honest, and inspire hope and build community through shared experience.
We'll be talking to people in our community on their own recovery journey and shine a light on the topic of recovery in all its forms. Maybe you'll hear some of your story in theirs.
Let's show the world that together we rise, recover, and live.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. We are your hosts, Bryce III, he, him pronouns.
And Liz McKean, she, her pronouns.
What up, Liz?
If you could do the whole episode in that voice. No, actually, please don't. Not much. What up with you?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. The journey continues on exercise, Bryce. So today there was a benchmark and you had to see like how quick you can run a mile. And my time was 7:02. Not bad. I'm not mad at all about it.
That is really good.
Apparently, so Orange Theory, they are very competitive. So like within my age range, which is 30 to 39, the person who had the highest did his mile in 5 minutes. So I have something to kind of look at and be like, okay, maybe one day I'll get there. But also, like, I really went into it and pacing myself and, pushing myself at the same time. And so started this day out pretty proud of myself and got the hard thing out the way. How's your energy?
Heck yeah, man, I'm proud of you. That's awesome. Mine is honestly chaotic. I'm in a major season of transition in all the different areas. The biggest one is moving. I talked about that previously, although I don't know when we're rolling out episodes, which order, but there's a big move ahead of me and just trying to hold it together and using all of my tools, which sometimes are effective and sometimes not.
When the last time you had a dance party?
Far too long. I think maybe that's in order for tonight. It's a really good suggestion.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's a tool in the toolbox that it's about time to rip it out.
It is. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. All right, well, there you go. See? I think we talked
dance
about
party
this.
Tonight at Liz's
dance
old
party,
crib.
Doctor's orders. Heck yeah.
Who do we got here with us today, Liz?
Oh my gosh, we have a ray of sunshine today. Today we are talking to Cristy, who is a queer person in long-term recovery living in the Bay Area. Cristy is a fellow Phoenix staff member and, of course, just recovery community member. And we could not be more excited to welcome you, Cristy. How are you doing today?
Yay.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty good because I did not run a mile this morning and
Same.
I don't have to move. So I feel like I'm doing pretty good.
I think that's an okay thing to not have done that and not have to do the other thing. I think those are, and that also doesn't invalidate any other things that you or anybody else is going through. My husband said this morning, because I don't sleep well when I'm having anxiety. He this morning was talking about how he was tired, but really didn't want to talk about it because, he knew he wasn't as tired as me. And I'm like, whatever I got going on does not invalidate you're still allowed to be tired. Like, take a nap, like, take care of yourself. So I think it's funny how we always like to do that and kind of minimize our own thing.
That's an important conversation, though, because especially within interpersonal relationships, like wanting to show up for your loved one. If you see them going through something, you might that's learning to have the nuance to really not overshadow somebody else, but also give yourself the compassion to take up the space. Mm-hmm. And I think friendships and safe, the building of those environments, like it has to be intentional. And, it starts with a conversation like that. Like, yo, like, I'm tired, but I don't really want to talk about it because I know that you're super tired and I know how you get. And that can spark that conversation that allows for like growth between two people,
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. I think it's cool just to be in a community where we can even say that, like to have that kind of meta conversation about it, but definitely to be around people that it's okay to say that you're going through something and have them recognize that and also feel safe to be in their own thing. So yeah, thanks for letting me just make that about me for a minute. So Cristy, we're so excited to have you here and to talk about your story. I know that our stories have some things in common when it comes to, speaking of anxiety, panic disorder, things like that. So I'm always thrilled to, just have the conversation that is relatable for me selfishly, but also it's the thing that people don't talk about a lot. And if you're going through it, you might think that you're the only one. So thank you for being open, even just, when we start planning the conversation and as we move into it, just thank you in advance. And let's just get started with kind of your story. I know you've probably told it 100 times, but what is recovery looked like for you? How did this whole journey get started?
Yeah, so I'm actually just a couple of days away from my 10-year sobriety birthday. I'll have 10 years, hopefully on August 22nd. So I'm super excited about that.
Nice.
Amazing. Cue applause. Whew.
And yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's so interesting to look back on it because when I first, started my recovery journey, I really did not think I was an alcoholic. And I'm sure like a lot of us start off that way, right? Like my whole life sort of centered around alcohol. I could not draw a sober breath. I needed it to go to work. I needed it to talk to people. I needed it to go to parties. I just like alcohol really just had a complete hold over me. And I really thought like deep down in my soul that if I wanted to control it, I could, right? I just like didn't want to. I just like, I don't know. I wasn't ready. I didn't have my life figured out enough. And alcohol was sort of like making me feel better. It was helping with my anxiety. I was having panic attacks at night. I would just wake up in the middle of the night out of like a dead sleep, just like a Pop-Tart, right? Just soaked in sweat, having just the worst panic attack. And I think, I thought that the alcohol was helping and had no idea that the alcohol was like basically what was causing it. And so I thought that the alcohol was helping me. And I just wasn't ready to give it up. I wasn't ready to look at that. And so I really thought I was not an alcoholic. And, after an intervention with some of my coworkers, because I had shown up to work one day with 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and my arm hanging out of the socket at the shoulder. I had no idea what happened the night before, and I wasn't in any pain because I had drank so much the night before that, when you wake up and you're still intoxicated from the amount that you had drank before. So I wasn't in any pain. I didn't really realize what was happening. I just like got myself to work. My coworkers are like, "What happened to you? What are you talking about?" I had no idea. And so I went to the emergency room. They like cleaned me up. I came back to work. My coworkers were all sitting in a circle because they had obviously like Googled, like how to hold an intervention. And, they just told me they were worried about my drinking because they all knew I was showing up to work every day, just stinking like alcohol, just completely either hungover or still intoxicated from the night before. So all my coworkers knew. They're the ones who saw me at my worst. And they begged me to go to a meeting, an AA meeting that night. And so I agreed to go. And that was like my first introduction to like recovery in general. I didn't get sober that day, but it like planted the seed for me. So yeah, it was just nuts. I walked into that meeting really thinking I had the control when clearly I had absolutely no control over the amount I was drinking, when I was drinking, how much I was drinking, none of it. It's crazy like what your mind really believes.
When you're suffering and you found something that seems to make the suffering less, like that's a very human and like evolved thing to do, to be like, this is a thing that works, so I'm going to hold on to it for dear life. You know what it looks like without it. And then even if it starts to get worse and worse with it, it's still like, I don't have another tool. I know, it was bad. This made it better. And I'm just going to hope that at some point it's going to continue to. So it is amazing what like you said, like what our brains will do to like protect that at all costs. And anything could be wrong except for this. Don't take this away from me. I have nothing else. It's wild. And you were showing up to work every day.
Every day.
It's like you can convince yourself when it's like, I'm doing it, getting up every day, I'm going to work.
Right. And
I mean,
it's
a bit of like normalization too. Like, black eyes and a dislocated shoulder, like not knowing how that happened, but that not being a red flag, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, this is just life. It was
funny story.
It was one time I spilled the crazy details, but basically like I just fell. Like I just fell. You know what I'm saying? And like I knew how I fell, but I fell and then like I had this it was one of the most visible like skid marks on my forehead.
Ooh.
And I just wore a hat. Like nobody gonna see it, and I didn't think that was an issue. There's a lot of things that was going on in my life, waking up and needing something before like, and a little something more than coffee. And I don't need coffee now, but still there's some days where I ask myself the question, because I'm an intentional contributor to this experience, where it's like, do I need to do the coffee thing today? Maybe I won't. Like there's this intentional looking at it. But like Liz said, when you find that thing, like, yo, this has worked, and so like this is what come with it, and this is life now. You know. So how did that? Because I've never had an intervention. As a matter of fact, my experience was one in which like nobody really said anything to me, because I don't know why. Maybe there's more. I need therapy to understand why that was the case. But how did actually like walking into a room like the show where people were in a circle, like, we're concerned about you, how did that make you feel? How did that impact you?
I think I was more offended. I felt like I was just trying to survive. Like, this is what I need to do in order to survive life, right? This is what I have to do in order to get by. So how dare you, like tell me what I'm doing is wrong? How dare you say that like the thing that I need in order to get through life is wrong? Like, you guys have no idea what it's like to be me. Just like really like that victim mentality. Like I really started drinking after just like a horrific breakup. And so I just really like took on that victim mentality. Like, the world has no idea what it's like to be me. It has no idea what it's like to feel this pain. It has no idea what it's like to be gay, or, like go through the struggle, move across the country, and, all these things that other people have done too. But like, I thought that I was the only one. And so how dare these people, like try to get in the way of me and the one thing that I have to make me feel okay.
No disrespect to the people that invented interventions, but like every time I hear about an intervention, like that seems to be the comment, like, what are y'all doing? Like, why are y'all here? Like, no, right. I don't have a problem. Like, get out of my face. Like, it seems to stoke the fire more than it does to be like, oh, you know what? You all are right. And let me just stop.
Right. Right.
But it does plant the seed. I mean, it's just like, I feel like, anytime anybody, when you're not ready, anytime anybody says this is a problem, I mean, I know for me, it was just like, well, let me just keep you at a distance. Like, okay, you're not going to see it anymore. But then looking back, it's like that starts to add up. And first, eventually you can see that what's adding up is people that care enough to say something. But like at the time, it adds up that it's just like little evidences that get harder and harder to deny, that like, oh, my life isn't actually as under control as I'm trying to force myself to believe that it is. And so I think there's, value. And also, that, we've had some folks come on and talk about allyship and supporting folks in recovery. And the end of the day, there's just you just can't do it for anybody. You just love them the best way you know how. So I guess if you are the person who invented interventions out there, or you're considering one for a person that you love, I mean, you just love people the best you can. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I did end up in an AA meeting that night. So
That's pretty awesome.
yeah. So one of
So-
my coworkers was my really good friend at the time, and she, pulled me aside afterwards and said, "Please, like I looked this up on the internet. There's this thing called Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a meeting in our town, like later. Will you please go with me tonight?" And I said, "Sure. Like if that will get you off my back, sure, I will go with you." And I went to that meeting that night, and it was a meditation meeting. I had never meditated before. I knew nothing about meditation.
Oh, cool.
It was like the lights off in the dark kind of meditation. And I just cried the whole time. And at the end of that meeting, they asked, does anyone have a burning desire? And then they defined a burning desire as like, if you don't say something right now, you're going to go home and drink tonight. And I was like, oh, I'm probably going to go home and drink tonight. And so something clicked in my head, and I raised my hand and I said, alcohol's running my life and I don't know what to do about it. And that was like the first time I'd ever admitted that alcohol had a hold on me. And like, I know where that came from now, but like, I don't know where that came from at the time. I couldn't believe I raised my hand. I couldn't believe I said that. And at the end of the meeting, all these women came up to me and they were like, here's my phone number, call me, here's a phone list, keep coming back, come to another meeting. And, just the way they do it in Alcoholics Anonymous. And that is what planted the seed for me. I ended up using that phone list a couple days later because I was in a really tough spot.
You went to a really good meeting.
I really did.
Because I've been to some meetings where it was like, man, I'm so glad this wasn't my first meeting. Like I I had a similar experience where it's like I went and it was so much love there. There was so much joy that I was really like skeptical. Like, ain't none of y'all high, ain't none of y'all drunk right now. Like, I don't believe it. And then somebody followed me to the parking lot. It's like 10 o'clock at night, and this dude is just following me like, do you have a sponsor? Do you have somebody you're working with? I'll be your surrogate sponsor until. And it's like, yo, you are super enthusiastic about helping me, sir. Sure, I'll take your help. I don't know what I'm signing up for, but it's got to be better than what I've experienced.
Right.
And that, that changed my life. That changed the trajectory of my life. And so, I think getting beat up sparks those moments of like, it almost jumping out of my throat. Yes, I do have a burning desire, and I don't know what to do, but I'm going through this thing and I need help. Like, I just don't know. It's like, where did that come from? But it's just like, it's those moments of like desperation that push us to, I need something different,
And even once you do get to that point where you're doing something different, where you're able to say, this is something that's not working anymore and my life has become, out of my control. Like all those underlying things that you were talking about before, like nobody knows what it's like to have moved across the country and to have that level of being lonely and to be gay and all the things that you were, the anxiety that, that doesn't just like all like disappear, like evaporate with the alcohol. Like what happened next?
So let's see, a couple days later after that meeting, I used that phone list. I was at the DMV. I was trying to fill out my license renewal paperwork. I was so intoxicated. The pen was so shaky. I was like, I shouldn't be at a government agency this drunk. And that is what scared me. That was like what I needed. And I called somebody on that phone list. My mom always said, when you're in trouble, pray to the Blessed Mother. I grew up like super Irish Catholic. Pray to the Blessed Mother and she'll help you. And so, the Blessed Mother's name is Mary. And so I found Mary on that phone list and I called Mary and I was like, Mary, I need your help. And the nicest woman answered the phone and came to me, picked me up at the DMV, brought her big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, brought me to Starbucks, bought me a coffee, and just told me what recovery can look like. And she called my sister, who was the only family member I had in California at the time. And her and my sister checked me into rehab that day. And I went to a rehab in Oakland, California. And I did not think I was an alcoholic. I thought that I just needed to go to rehab, detox, and then I could drink better and make better decisions. And so I checked myself out after 6 days and things just started aligning for me. The fact that I checked myself out of rehab after 6 days and did not have a drink that night is crazy to me. I didn't just go back to drinking. I just didn't pick up. And I needed a roommate because my 2 roommates that I was living with at the time got in a fight over my alcoholism. And so one of them moved out, and I needed somebody like before rent was due again. And so I put an ad on Craigslist. It's 10 years ago, like back when people used Craigslist. One person answered that ad, and all I said was like female roommate wanted, and one girl answered that ad, and she came over and she was looking around the apartment. I was telling her about it, and she noticed we had like a bar set up, but there was no alcohol on it because my roommate had gotten rid of all the alcohol. So she asked, she was like, why do you have a bar set up with no alcohol? And I was like, oh, funny you ask. I'm trying not to drink. I have like 9 days of sobriety. She was like, wow, good for you. I'm a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have 6.5 years of sobriety. I was like, wow, I've heard about you people. You need to move in with me. Like that, I've heard that I'm supposed to connect, like you need to move in. And so she did. And
wow,
what a like godsend for me, because she just showed me what sobriety was like. I had no idea. She showed me that you can just like live this full life, go to meetings, have fun, meet new people, and just live without drinking and be whole and happy. And so she took me to meetings, and I started going, and I went to this young people's meeting on Wednesday night that just filled my cup. It was fun and exciting, and people learned my name, and they loved seeing me week after week, and it was so exciting. I loved it. It's like, I can't wait for Wednesday night. And I don't know, I found a sponsor there, like without making up my mind that like, I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to like become a member of AA. I'm going to get sober. I'm going to work the steps. I'm going to get a sponsor. Like none of that ever like happened in my brain where I made those decisions. It just slowly started to happen. I just like one at a time, I just sort of did it. And my life just started to get better. Like things started to get easier. My anxiety like started to, I'm not gonna say go away, but like get easier to deal with. I all of a sudden like had these tools that I had never had before. I had these people that I could call. There's so many people in my life who have gone through something that that I'm going through, something new for me. Somebody's already been through. And just like learning this whole new like world, basically like how to like live as a person, has relieved so much just like stress and anxiety of everything that I was trying to control before. So like I rode that pink cloud. That pink cloud for me lasted 2 years. It was amazing.
We love a pink cloud. My gosh. I think there's so much power, like all those things. I've gotten like 18 rounds of goosebumps with everything you're talking about. But to be able to just say out loud the things that you were just drinking away before. Just remember the first time I was able to say like, oh yeah, I don't drink, and do that without shame. Or the first time I was able to, talk about the fact that I had anxiety and have people say, oh yeah, same, like to just be, you had these coworkers that cared about you so much, but like, did this feel like the first time that you were able to just be you? Awesome.
Yeah.
There's so much power in that.
And so like you think about how in life there's so many opportunities to try to control. There's so many opportunities to want to put a grip hold on life and want things to go exactly how it is that we think they should go. And so how has it been for you to show up? You say you're coming up on 10 years. How has it been for you to show up for life as it is versus trying to control it? And like, what tools have helped you to be able to show up as so?
I feel like, as a person with anxiety and panic disorder, I had to control everything, every aspect of everything. Just like really have my hands in everything. It's like what made me feel safe as a person. And so, a big part of my program in Alcoholics Anonymous, I guess in general, is like letting go, right? Like handing your life over to a power greater than yourself. And it was so hard. Like the idea of that was so unknown to me. Like, how am I supposed to take my hands off of everything that's like making me feel safe? And it's like a lesson that I am learning over and over and over, like all 10 years, right? Like every time a new situation comes up, my first instinct is to control it, right? Do what I need to do in order to make the outcome come out the way that I want it to come out, because that's what makes me feel safe. And so every single time I have to like reevaluate what I'm doing or think about what I'm doing. Like, okay, how much do I have my hands in this, right? Like how much am I like turning over to like a higher power or the universe or, you know, whatever it is that's out there that actually has control over whatever it is that's going on. Because I really don't have any control of what's going on. I like to believe that I do, right? But I really don't. And so it's something that I, you know, come across all the time. I can't just like decide one day, like, all right, this is the way I'm going to live my life now. I'm just going to like turn everything over, let the universe sort that out, and everything's going to be okay. Something I have to think about on pretty much a daily basis, right? To take my grips out of everything. But every time I do it, every time I'm able to let go and let the universe take control and let things sort out the way that they're supposed to be, it's so beautiful. I get back like 10 times more than I thought that I even wanted. And I get to watch that over and over, and I get to watch it in other people's lives. I love talking to somebody new in sobriety and they're like, I need to make sure that this happens and I'm so stressed out about this and I need to make sure and blah. And I'm like, well, why don't you try just like letting go and like letting the universe sort that out for you? Like what could happen? You know, it's so fun. But I'm still like, I mean, my first instinct, you know, I gotta do it.
Yeah, they say, well, they don't say it. I guess I say it, but it's
a wise man once said his name was Bryce the Third.
It's like we only know what we practice, and what I mean by that, like that's a phrase that I say to inject humility into like my life, because I can be quick to say how I know, or you know, I've read, you know, my pathway is 12 step as well. So I've read the big book how many times? My home group is a big book study. Yeah, I've heard the carpet slipper story. I've heard like all of the stories. I've read I know what these words mean. I know. But we only know what we practice. So it's like I can know I'm a good person, but if in this moment did I hold this door for this person? Liz, I had an opportunity to be shiesty again today. I was at the Starbucks.
Did you steal an umbrella?
No,
if you stole an umbrella.
I was at the Starbucks and I get to the counter. I'm looking on the app, because on the app you can order stuff, but I'm just about to order with my card. And so I get to the counter. I'm like, yeah, I'm looking on the app and I see y'all ain't got no nitro cold brew on the app. My mans was there. He was like, no, it's just on the app. We say that we can't do it on the app, but we actually can do it. It's just a nitro thing is being serviced. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me get a nitro cold brew. He like, okay. And then, but he had to go do something. So then the girl came up and I was like, I just told him I wanted a nitro cold brew. She was like, we can't do nitro cold brews because the machine is broken. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I'm in a twilight zone. What's happening? I'm like, I just talked. He literally just told me that you could do it. And she was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, he said something about it. It said you couldn't do it on the app, but you could in real life or whatever. So she was like, okay. She went back to the nitro machine, pressed the thing, and the nitro came out. She was like, I can do it. So she started making it for me. Then another guy comes like, yeah, man, how can I help you? Like, she's trying to help me right now. She's already taking care of me. And then he he didn't hear what I said. He was like, yeah, so can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a nitro cold.
This is the most well-staffed, helpful Starbucks I've ever heard of in my life.
Communication misses all around. But so he was like, what size do you want? I'm like, she's literally putting me together. So she comes back, she gives me the cup, and she interrupts my man who's trying to take my order again. She's like, no, he ordered online. Here you go. Go ahead, take care. And I got it. And I started to turn. And I'm like, no, you misunderstood me. I didn't order online. He was telling me that I couldn't get it online. I was trying to explain to her, like, no, you still haven't charged me for this drink, you know? And so ultimately, I was able to pay for my drink. And, you know, a couple of people who were standing in line behind me, they chuckled about the circumstance. But it's just like, in that moment, like, I actively showed up to practice what I know. And what I know is I'm a man of integrity. Like, I can say it, it out loud, and like I know, but like when I practice it, that's when it actually becomes so. So it's like, okay, I know that sometimes I can be a control freak, and I know that life has way too many variables for me to try to control them all. So in this moment, how can I practice like letting go and allowing for God or allowing for the universe or allowing for things to just work their way out? And how can I do that right now, today, August, whatever day it is, and not like all of the times I did it yesterday, or like giving myself anxiety about thinking about all the times I'll ever have to do it in life in the future. But like right now in this moment, how can I practice this? And that's what knowledge is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I really like one of the things or one of the sayings that really affected me in the beginning, which has really affected me the whole time, has been like, when you pray for patience, God gives you the opportunity to be patient. And so I believe that, I've been praying for, or, asking the universe to relieve my anxiety. And I believe that I'm being put in situations where I can change my mind frame around whatever it is that's going on to help me work through my anxiety. Because I don't think that things just get lifted. And sometimes they do, but I think a lot of times we have to practice those things and use our tools and use everything that we've been given. And so I think I've done a lot of work around my anxiety and panic and working through it. So that's what I think that you just practiced. You practice integrity, right? The universe or God gives you the opportunity to be, what's the word for integrity in the
integrous. I don't know. We just make stuff up around here. You just gotta throw it out there. Yeah, and I gotta say, Cristy, I stopped praying for patience a very long time ago. Like, you know what, God, I'm patient. Don't even trip. Don't even trip. But yeah, no, I definitely agree. And that's the beauty. I think that's the beauty of recovery, because there's some things, once we learn how to set intention, there's some things that we desire. A big part of me and my active addiction, alcoholism, was that like I wanted to be cool immediately. Like I wanted to be peaceful immediately. I wanted to like be free from nerves immediately. I wanted to be creative immediately. And these are all things that like I desired in sobriety. But now that immediately is gone, because how I was working and do it immediately came with too many side effects. So now I'm living a life where it's like I still want to be these things, but like those things have to be cultivated. and the way that I'm able to cultivate those things is through experiences like today at Starbucks or in New York with an umbrella. Like through those experiences, I'm able to cultivate that wisdom. I'm giving the opportunity to show up in what it is that I've desired, and that I put out to the universe that I want to become. And, it's just one of those things, like I'm really learning still to this day, like probably still to forever days, is that like all work works. Either it's working for you or it's working on you, turning you into who it will work for. And so it's like, oh, everything is important. Everything counts. And, I could just show up and practice and do my best in this very moment.
Your best. I think that's the cool thing. And that's the thing that allows me, when I am in that practice of showing up and letting go and knowing that control is just an illusion.
It took you so much to even say it out your mouth.
I feel, what is that hashtag? Like, I feel attacked. Like this whole conversation, I'm like, darn it, you're right. Okay, I'm like gonna just kind of like on the side, I'm just closing out all the spreadsheets I have where I'm trying to control my entire life and everyone that I love right now. My poor, wonderful family. Anyways, so I'm feeling all those things. I also just completely forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The whole piece of like the control feels in the moment like what you're supposed to do. And then the thought of like letting go is like, okay, so I just do nothing, because that's very uncomfortable. And like, yes. And also the things that you do is just like what's right in front of you. That whole, one moment at a time, like the next right thing. Like I tell you, 12 steps, not my path, but there are so many things that I've learned, just phrases like those beautiful words that just mean so much. And I repeat because, yeah, just like that next right thing is the thing that you do. And sometimes that is being still. And sometimes that is having a cup of tea. And sometimes that is closing the spreadsheet because you don't, or maybe just not sharing it with all the email list you were about to share it with. So yeah, I think there are things to do, and that is just the very next thing.
So Cristy, I'm super interested. So I just hit my 10 as well, in July. And
Yay.
one thing I've learned, especially like now, is that the numbers are important, especially as a counter, as something to keep track of. But for me, it's most important because, like me, in those rooms when I was counting the hours, like needed to see somebody at 5, needed to see somebody at 10, and needed to see that they looked like me or had an experience similar to mine to make me feel like I could even do these things. And also, I've learned that I've kind of, for me personally, like I gotta let go of the years because that is what keeps me in humility. Because like also years could be like, I got 10 years. What are you gonna tell me that I ain't heard before? Like, what are you gonna show me that I don't know? I got 10 years. Look at this coin. It's got an X on it. You better stop playing with me. So I'm curious what life looks like for you today, as you're nearing your 10. And I know those nickels too are like, they can hold a lot of weight. And so is there any epiphanies that you've had or any like lessons that you're learning as you're creeping up on that 10?
I mean, I still feel like a newcomer. I hear people who have less time than me say these just like mind-blowing things. I don't want to forget about the years because I don't ever. One of the things I think that keeps me sober is like, I don't want to raise my hand as a newcomer again, right? Like, I don't want the time that I've been, giving to this program to start over. And I think like, that's okay. If that's what's keeping me from drinking, whatever's keeping me from drinking, but I really believe that there can be a disconnect in what people think of years versus program, right? Especially like, because 12-step is like my path. And so I can see someone who has a year, who is working such a strong program, who has such a connection with their higher power, the universe, and, is going to meetings and is giving back and of service. And then I can see somebody with 20 years who's like, has no humility, who thinks that they know everything about the big book and who's just like going to meetings to like talk so that people think that they're cool. I think people can think like too much about their time and get too much in their ego. And so that's something that I work really hard to stay humble in my time. And, I don't want to be that person who just raises my hand at a meeting just to talk and say that I have 10 years, because I don't want to sound like a fool. People work hard programs. I want to work a hard program. That's what I want to be known for, working a hard program, being of service to my fellows, not because I have 10 years.
Yeah, every birthday, and it used to piss me off very much so. But every birthday, there was this person that would hit me up and be like, "Now the real work begins." And I remember, like, on my year 2, I'm like, "Why are you still saying that to me?" Like, it has been 365 days times 2. Stop talking to me about real work. I put in that real work. But like now, if I don't hear it, like he hit me up this year too when I hit my 10. Like, yeah, now the real work begins. The first 10 was a gift. And like, I need to hear that because it keeps me like rooted in that humility where it's like, oh, like self-importance. Like you could just feel like, especially how much time you got, it's like, oh, I got 7 years. I've got 3 on you. You know what I'm saying? Like that humility could kind of leave the room. And I just really need that because that's what's kept me open and allowed for that entire psychic change, allowed for me to continue to grow, allowed for me to continue to contribute and be service oriented. So no, I really agree with that. That's a great mindset to have and embody.
I think the thing that comes with that time as well is, I know for me, when I was looking at potentially a lifetime without alcohol, I didn't know who the frick I was without alcohol. Like there was no me without this, and certainly no me that I wanted to know about. And then even in early sobriety, like there was a lot of just getting through the day. And I know part of what I was scared about when I looked at what sobriety would look like long term when I was trying to control the whole entire long term trajectory of my life was that I didn't want my whole life to only be about this. I wanted other parts of myself to exist, and I didn't know what those were, so I couldn't imagine that. And that just felt like a really big barrier. And I know something that you've talked about is within this, time that you've found yourself. You figured out who you are, like what you love, like what, found community that you relate to in a way that is even beyond just like, oh, we're both not drinking, So I feel like that's something that is helpful for people to hear about, all the parts of you that are just you, that were there all along, but now they are like here for the whole world and to see and you to enjoy and step into. So who are you, Cristy Smyth?
I would say, one of the biggest gifts I've gotten is that I could not be alone. I couldn't be alone in my own thoughts. I had to have a person around me or I had to be drunk. And so one of the things that I love now is my alone time. I had no idea that I was an introvert and that I need to recharge on my own. And I just learned that in the last couple of years. And so sitting at home, watching a movie by myself is the best. And I could never do that before. I don't know. There's so many things I love. I love to read, and I never knew that. I go bowling with my friends. I have such a loving group of friends that I'm so blessed to have. And we do such fun things. We go on trips together. We're going bowling on Friday night. We're going to do a beach bonfire in San Francisco on Saturday night. There's always things that are going on. And I don't know, I always have something to do. But I also have the ability now to say I need the night off. I'm just going to stay home and watch a movie by myself. I could never do that before. I never wanted to let people down, or I had such severe FOMO. What if I missed an inside joke? God forbid I miss an inside joke, And so I could never say no before, but now I have the ability to know what I need as a person and to say no if I need that. I'm in a really healthy relationship. I have a girlfriend and, we communicate really well, really, really well. That's something I never thought I would be able to have, is a healthy relationship. I can be really honest and vulnerable with her, and she can do the same. And we talk about our needs, and, we can set boundaries when we need to. And it's so beautiful. I had no idea that it could be like this. I feel so blessed and lucky in life. And it's all because I got sober and I work a program, and I could not be more blessed.
And you deserve all of it. You deserve all of it.
Thank you.
Sure do. Man, I had a yoga teacher say this to me once, and I repeated it sometimes when I've been teaching, because anything that I feel like I really need to hear is something that I like to share. And she said that you're not, when you choose to come to the mat, whether it's in a yoga class or meditation or just in a moment, you are not by yourself, you're with yourself. And you are a person worth spending time with. And that was just even, within the last 2 years that happened, somebody said that. And that just blew my mind to be like, I am a person worth spending time with. And I feel like that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
So as we wind down this episode, we really appreciate you for coming out and kicking it with us and sharing your story with the community. One final question would be, if you can go back in time to any previous version of Cristy and tell that person a nugget of wisdom or anything, what version of Cristy would you choose, and what would you tell them?
Man, I think I would go back to Cristy 10 years ago to today, because I was having a rough week 10 years ago this week, and just tell her it is going to be okay. Just go. Do what they want you to do.
Lovely.
It's going to be okay.
Lovely, lovely,
I love that. So if you're in that rough week right now, anybody listening, it's going to be okay. Do the thing that's in front of you right now. Showing up and listening to a podcast. Success. Well, Cristy, thank you for being here and for being you, for being part of the recovery community, the Phoenix community, and the podcast community. Every space that you are in is better because you're in it. And we're really grateful to have you on today. And we're really grateful for everybody who is joining us and listening. Also, shout out to I don't know the number, but the podcast that we did live from New York with Dopey. It was, if you want to hear the umbrella story, more about Bryce and his journey of integrity. We mentioned that a couple of times in the pod, so I want to give a throwback for anybody who doesn't know what the heck we're talking about. So keep joining us, subscribe, follow, all the things so that you don't miss a single episode. We will put some links in the podcast or in the show notes for ways to connect with Cristy. And yeah, we did it. We'll see you next time.
Catch you later.